Behind me, the star of today's video, the Mazda CX-60, which is of course the smaller brother of the CX-80 that we drove in an earlier video. My name is Peter and we're going to have a look at this CX-60 together because I think that this might be the sweet spot in the Mazda lineup, at least for me. So together, let's have a look and see what's what. Now, basically, this CX-60 is exactly the same as the CX-80, just a little bit smaller in pretty much every department. So here from the front, you wouldn't tell them apart because they look very similar and they're even the same width. It is when you get to the side profile that you start to notice a few differences. Chief among which is the fact that this car is about 25 centimeters shorter than the CX-80, and that is a chunk of change. So with just over 4.70 meters, this is still not a small car, but certainly not as big as the CX-80 that has a real extra end here on the back. And the main part obviously is the fact that this is always a 5-seater and that the CX-80 is also a 6 or 7-seater. So if we open the door here, you can see that we have a normal traditional bench and no option for a third row. And that's really it. That is really the difference. This is a car that you buy if you do not need a third row. And the CX-80 is the car that you buy if you do need that third row. But we're certainly not ending the video there. I'm gonna, of course, talk you through the whole car, show you the interior, and we're gonna do a bit of driving as well. While we are outside anyway, this is, of course, a car you're gonna drive with a family, and a family needs space. 570 liters of boot space is, of course, more than ample for your washing machine and your entire Christmas shopping, so that is great. And there is even a little bit more space available here under the false floor, so that is excellent, very practical. And if you put the seats down, you get more than 1700 liters of space, so then it's really almost a van. So that's great, really practical, really nice, and everything you want from the family wagon. Now you saw the charging cable in the back. This is a plug-in hybrid, just like the CX-80 was. It's all we're getting here in the Netherlands. There's a few other engine options available as well, but they share the exact same powertrains amongst each other. So in this one, we also get a little over 300 horsepower, four-wheel drive, and that hybrid electric drive. In the CX-80, I thought 300 sounds good on paper, but it wasn't really that potent feeling while driving. So later when we do the driving bit, we're going to see if it's different in this one, because of course it weighs a little less than the CX-80 as well. Because it is a smaller vehicle and because it is lighter and because less parts are needed, it is of course also a cheaper vehicle than the CX-80. So it is a bit more budget friendly as well. Now, special attention for the color. I'm not sure how well it comes across on camera, but this is a spectacular blue. Mazda does its colors really well in general. That red that we all know, that deep cherry red, is pretty awesome. But I really like this blue. Sometimes it looks black, sometimes it looks really dark, but it's in the sun here, it's sparkling. There's a glitter in the paint that makes it look really great. I think this is quite a chic color and it makes the car look classy as well. If it wasn't for the chrome bits like here in the back and also here on the side and here on the front, I'm not so sure about those accents. Personally, I would prefer to see those dark or gunmetal or something, but not this chrome. And same goes for the wheels. If I would pick it, I would definitely take this color, but I would make those extra trim bits dark, have it wrapped or something, and definitely put dark wheels on it. Of course, a cockpit tour through this Mazda CX-60. I can already tell you that if you've seen the cockpit tour of the CX-80, it is basically the exact same interior. I cannot tell them apart, to be honest. That is not a bad thing though, because that was a very nice cockpit and so is this. There are some problems, and the main one is with the spec choice. There was the same in the CX-80 as well. So we have this yellow wood on this cream white interior, and that is not a combination that I like. This wood looks off. It's just not nice. A darker wood would have been much nicer, or this would combine with a darker interior. What I also don't like is the extensive use of chrome, especially the ones here on the door. It doesn't look nice and it feels very cheap. So that's not good either. It's also on the door handle, around the steering wheel, around the middle console here, and all the way across the dash. It's not for me. No, I've never been a chrome guy, and if I had this spec car, I would chrome delete it somewhere with a wrapper or something. But I wouldn't spec it this way to begin with. So that is not nice. And you can see it too here on the door, for example. So you have the black top with the yellow wood, with the chrome, with the gray fabric with the cream white leather. There's a lot of stuff happening in you know, 30 centimeter space. So, you know, those things I'm not too sure about. The other thing I'm not too sure about is this fabric on the dash. The fabric itself is fine, but this line in the middle looks nice, but I think this stitching here, if you snag it with something, with a ring or whatever it might be, that's going to pull out and look horrible for the rest of the lifespan of the car. So I'm not too sure about that either. So that's my complaining in a nutshell. Other than that, it is a great place to be. Chief among which is the fact that they've managed to blend digital and analog together really nicely. I've said it in previous Mazdas too, and I've said it in the CX-80 as well. It is such a refreshing touch to have buttons everywhere, traditional stocks, button combination with a nice clear digital display, and then the central screen that is operated with this rotary dial. It is, on the one hand, a great way to communicate with the screen while driving, because it's very relaxing to sit here with your elbow on the armrest and just scroll through the menus. It is not so great when you're standing still. I'll show you the navigation. We go here, we click once, then we have to click again for the menu, click again for where to, and then we are presented with the letter carousel, which we then have to go through in order to select our destination. Not so much an issue, you know, when you're making small adjustments while driving, but when you're standing still, you're like, yeah, really, come on. And I know it's better when you connect your phone and use Android Auto, fine, but it is cumbersome this way. And it's an interesting question where Mazda is going from here, because in the 6e, for example, we saw a modern interpretation of the car with the big central screen, touch only, of course. So it's interesting to see if Mazda is going to go that way or it's going to stick with this for now. So those are a few initial thoughts. If we do the quick tour, we got buttons for the mirrors and the windows where we want them to be. Great. A circular steering wheel, even greater, with real buttons on it, which is the cherry on the cake. Left for your systems and your media, right for your cruise control. This is the way a steering wheel should be. So that's fantastic. There's two flippers behind that you'll never use. This is the plug-in hybrid, but you'll use them twice to see how they work and then forget about them completely, because the gearbox is fine, does its thing, and you're going to drive it like that all the time. But some of you in the comments have pointed out in earlier videos that those could come in handy, for example, when you're towing something, if you might want to do that. So fine, I suppose it's good that they're there. The stalks behind are nice and solid as well. Right for your wiper settings, left for your indicators and your lights. Also exactly the way you want it to be. Connected obviously all together to the digital driver's display, which is crisp and clear and presents the information that you need at all times really well. We have a head-up display in this car too, and as you know, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, I really like the combination of those two to work together to get my information, my basics, and my glanceable information when I want it. So that is a very good combination in this car for me. And of course, the rest you do on the central screen. The main downside of the screen, if you take away the controls and the communication with the screen, is the fact that it's text-based. Underneath the screen, we have physical vent control. All around the car, it's physical control with a simple knob, up, down, left, right, and a simple rotary dial next to it for how much air you want. Look no further, other car makers. This is how you do it. We don't need motors behind it. We don't need solutions to problems that don't exist. This has been solved. This is how you want it to be. The same goes for the Klima unit. Buttons galore for everything from your steering wheel heating to your seat cooling, temperature up and down, fan speed, and so on. Excellent, very good. There's even a little screen on it showing you what you're actually doing. That's not even necessary, but it's a nice touch. Further down, we have my phone on the wireless charging pad next to a 12-volt socket for your cool box, and then the yellow wood here on the central console. Behind this flap is your cup holders. Nicely hidden out of the way. I like that I can close them off so not, they don't fill up with dust and hair and so on. We have the MI drive selector here, the Mazda selector for sport, normal, EV, towing, and even an off-road mode that you'll never touch. But underneath that is an important button, and it is the charge button. You can actually charge the battery of this plug-in hybrid while driving. So when you're low on battery, but you want to enter your residential area, for example, on EV mode, you can charge up while you're on the highway. So that's a great option to have for that extra bit of flexibility. And last but not least, we have the controls for the screen. So you get this rotary dial flanked by 4 shortcut buttons. We have a physical volume dial as well, which is nice for the passenger, and a star favorite key for a favorite setup in your menu. Parking brake, auto hold, and that is all your buttons. Buttons everywhere, which is great. There is not a lot of room in this central tunnel, even though it's quite massive and also quite wide. So you have some storage here, split opening that is about this deep. So that's not much, enough for sunglasses and, you know, some other stuff, but no drinks or something, no bueno. With 2 USBs, so you can also do some charging there. But that is all your storage. You do have a normal glove box though, so that's nice. And that is the cabin. Not much to complain about besides the color spec. I really would pick something different. But it's a pleasant place to be. I like it. It's airy, it's light, obviously thanks to the color choices as well. We have a big panoramic roof, which is always great, even though you technically don't really need it with this color choice. But it's nice to have. The mirrors are nice and big, but I have the feeling that this one in particular is very close to me. I don't know really, I haven't measured it or anything, but it feels particularly close to me as the driver. I have the feeling that most mirrors are a bit more forward in the corner here. But a small detail, it doesn't bother me or anything, it's just something I noticed. This car also has the Bose audio system, by the way, for your thumping techno beats. All around, pleasant place to be, nice with all the buttons, nice that Mazda keeps it simple and easy to operate. And it's a pleasant driving experience this way, especially because, you know, the view out is nice. I can see over the big bonnet quite nicely. So yeah, all around, I'm pretty happy here. Little personal gripe here. We are currently at the gas station because we still have to fill up. And if I look at the screen now, you can see here that the battery indicator is on the left side, but it has an arrow to the right for the charging point. And the fuel indicator is on the right side of the dial, but has an arrow to the left to indicate that the opening, the fuel filler cap, is on the left side. And my OCD cannot handle that. So maybe Mazda, if there anybody there with the software, can you change that around, please? Of course, we got to do a little bit of driving in this CX-60, and no surprise, it is very similar to driving the CX-80. With a few exceptions though. Obviously it is a physically smaller vehicle, and you can really tell the CX-80 is so much bigger, and you notice that basically everywhere, from maneuvering in and around town to even here on the highway. It is a physically smaller vehicle, and that makes it more pleasant to maneuver about. I've said it in other reviews too, these sort of 4m70-ish big cars are a nice sweet spot where you have a large vehicle for sure, but it's not a full boat that you can't really get into a parking structure anymore, let alone get it out again. But still offers you all the space inside, all the comfort of driving long distance of a large vehicle, all the pleasantness that comes with a large heavy vehicle in traffic. And I think this Mazda CX-60 is also a perfect example of that kind of car. Now, it's not only physically smaller than the 80, its bigger brother, but it's also a lot lighter. And despite that, you always feel that this is a heavy car. And I mean that in a good way. So if I take my own Xpeng G6, for example, that weighs 2.2 ton without anything in it. So that's a heavy vehicle. But it has very strong power steering to compensate for that. And that makes it a bit artificial in a way, because you can still turn with a pinky, and it makes you feel distant from the driving experience. And sometimes that's fine, you know, when you're parking, you don't really need to be engaged with the drivetrain or anything. But it can sneakily remove you so far from the experience that at some point you have no clue how fast you're going anymore, because there's no engine noise or anything, there's no gears to shift. And then with the light steering, at some point you look at your speedo and you're like, oh, that's a bit faster than I thought, let alone when you have to start braking and suddenly realize all that mass takes a lot of distance to stop as well. Now, obviously you get used to that, but in this Mazda, I think they've engineered it the opposite way. Of course, it has power steering and so on, and when I say the steering is heavy, I don't mean you get some kind of forearm workout in here or anything, but the controls always feel very nicely weighted. Both the steering and the braking and sort of maneuvering the car around always feels like there's a certain weight about what you're doing. And that on the one hand makes it nice and intentional, like you intentionally have to move the steering wheel around and, you know, make the car move. And at the same time, it makes you more connected, if that makes sense, to the weight and the size of the car. Like you always feel that you're driving a large vehicle, and at no point this shrinks around you or anything. And I think that is nice. It actually keeps you more involved with what you're doing, and you're operating a 2-ton piece of metal in the end. And personally, I quite like that. It's a nice way to communicate with the car. Here in the back of the Mazda CX-60, we start with good news. You can see it especially on this shot. The door opens basically 90 degrees, which is fantastic if you have to deal with child seats or children in general here in the back. So that's awesome. The only downside is that it's not so awesome that these ISOFIX covers are loose. And anybody with kids knows that these will instantly fly away and you'll never see them again. So no bueno, Mazda, this has to be attached. This should be done better. But when you plop those back in place, and I sit behind myself, close the door for you, there is a ton of space back here, which is awesome. With my 1.83 meters and 90 kilos, I have about this much knee room left, and I can certainly go forward slightly more if I need to. There is about 2 fingers of headroom, so that is not too much, but fine for anybody, let's say under 190. You can probably sit here reasonably comfortable. And there's just a lot of space back here. It's nice. There's basically no transmission tunnel, a little bit, but nothing really mention worthy. And all the basics are covered. So I got my seat pocket here, I got ventilation control, I got seat heating on both sides, I have 2 USB-Cs and even a full-size socket back there. So all those basics are very well done. I also have an armrest here in the middle. That is not so well done because that's the generic armrest that a lot of car brands use, with the floppy rubber cup holders in the middle that are permanently exposed, so you're always in there with your wrist or your hand. Not so nice, especially at this price point. I think they should have done something better. My Xpeng is cheaper than this car, and that has the cup holders coming out of the front. Much easier solution. Other than that, the materials here are the same as in the front. So that is on the one hand great news, because the front seats are very nice and comfortable. Materials are nice and comfortable, but we also have the same downsides with that black, that yellow wood, the chrome that is even more hideous back here for some reason, and then the fabric and then the leather. It's too much to begin with, and the color combination is not nice. But that's personal taste, of course, from yours truly. The only thing really missing is some kind of sun shading that you get in the average Skoda, so that is something that definitely could be added. But other than that, it is a spacious, airy feeling, light and pleasant place to be back here. Also, of course, thanks to the panoramic roof, that really brings in a lot of extra light. But thanks to the design of the seats that are not massive at all, you can easily look past them, also when there's a person sitting here. And the quite large gap between the seats as well, there's a great connection to the front of the car. It's really something, if you're driving with kids, if you buy this car for a family, that connection to the front is really important for the people back here feeling part of the equation, part of the conversation, and sort of involved in the driving, because you can see the screens here, you can see what's going on, and I think that's really important. And that's really well done in this car. So that is excellent, a great driving car for a family. Nothing really to complain back here apart from the armrest and the material choices on the door. It's a pleasant place to be. I like it. It's good, and that 90-degree opening door is also really, really nice. When we sit here on the highway, it is a very pleasant vehicle to travel in. I have all the comfort in the world. I have nice seats. I have great view out, lots of glass, lots of light coming in also with the roof. And it's a pleasant vehicle to travel in. In the CX-80, I said that this powertrain felt a lot less powerful than it looked like on paper. Because this car is smaller and lighter than the CX-80, it feels a bit more potent here, even though it's the same powertrain. So driving in and around town in EV mode is awesome. It's by no means fast, and you're gonna lose every sprint from a pure EV for sure. But it's, you know, it's zippy enough for any kind of roundabout traffic light situation or anything. So that's nice. And you can even drive this on the highway in full EV mode. Currently we are almost out of charge, but we are still in full EV mode. So that is nice, and it makes the experience here very calm and very pleasant. And of course, when you plug it in at home or at work, you always have a full battery, and that means you can do most of your driving in and around town on pure EV mode. And then you do still have that range of the combustion engine when you want to go on ski holiday or any kind of far journey. So it is, in many ways, it is the best of both worlds, if you discount the complexity that the drivetrain obviously brings. It also has the same flaw as the CX-80, because it is the same drivetrain again, that when you floor it on the highway, if you want to go for a faster overtake or something, it like goes back in 2 steps, and it's not as refined as you want it to be. But those are like 5% of the cases maybe. The rest of the time it is a very refined drivetrain that feels supple and pleasant to drive. So that is excellent. And then when you do run out of charge, you hit this little button down here on the center console that actually makes the engine charge the battery. So if you are on a highway journey and at some point you realize you're going into the city soon, you hit that button, battery gets charged, and you can drive into the city or environment zone or your home all electric. So that is great. It is such a versatile drivetrain, which sort of adds to the versatility of the car in general, because clearly this is a car aimed at families like mine with 2 kids. So you have all the space in the boot, all the comfort in here, more than enough space for the kids in the back. And it really allows you to deploy this car in basically any kind of situation. Now, I don't have anything to fundamentally complain about with this car. It is a nice place to be. The interior choice would not be mine. I would pick a very different kind of interior spec. But I think this car looks great. It feels great to drive. It has all the space and all the comfort that you might want from a vehicle like this. And I think the mix of analog and digital here, especially in the front, is very well judged by Mazda. I'm curious to see how long Mazda can keep this sort of analog blend going on before they go fully digital. We saw in the Mazda 6, for example, that they have taken that step. So it will be interesting to see how well that is received by the buyers, if they like this setup and deliberately choose Mazda for this, or if they also want to go with the times and go fully digital. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Is this blend well judged, or do you think this is old-fashioned and they should go for the big screen and the full digital experience or not? And also let me know which of the past Mazdas that we drove, because we've done quite a bunch, is your favorite. For me, I think this CX-60 is the sweet spot, where the 80 is way too big for me and the 30 is way too small for me and my family. I think this is the kind of vehicle that I would pick if I had to pick something from the Mazda lineup. And I would definitely pick this blue color because I really, really like that. And that is all I got for you in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if that's the case. And a sub to the channel is always appreciated, of course. There's a lot more to come the rest of the year. And not only Mazda videos, but we got a bunch of EVs, a bunch of special vehicles, and of course a bunch of hybrids coming up from various brands. And of course, we're soon going to start taking some more trips again as well. So if you don't want to miss any of that, subscribe to the channel for sure. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers!